All right. So this is actually the first time that, and since the first day, so I've been giving my class the opportunity to either watch online and just watch the recorded or actually be in person. So they're all here today because I wanted them to meet Seth. Seth, the Grim Reaper's got a Band-Aid on his head.
I know. Yeah. Have you taken it off today to check it?
Yes. Yeah.
You have? Gosh, you should take it off so you can let everybody see.
Is it gross?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not. No, it's not. He's such a drama queen.
Yeah. So while Seth's doing that, I'll go ahead. I'm just going to kind of tell y'all a little bit about Seth and Kimber. So on, if you, hopefully you watched the lecture the other day and you saw the video about Seth. So I personally met Seth and Kimber. It's been a while. It's been more than I think than I feel it should be.
It's crazy.
I know, but they have made a massive impact in my life, and you will definitely see through today's session that we don't really have a there's not really, our communication styles are not very normal, but so for many years Kimber was our matriarch for the Special Olympics, and Seth was like our mascot that just came to the meetings and distracted everybody and made us all get off topic. But so we, of those, hour and a half long meetings, we might have talked for, actually planned for 7 and then just laughed and joked and enjoyed life for the rest of the time. And that is one of the things that makes me, that's why I love having them come and speak. So y'all saw Seth's story. Seth was a guy just like you guys. I mean, pretty much exactly like you guys. Not that much younger than most of you.
Yeah.
And out of the blue, just, I mean, literally on a random day, just like today, Seth's life was changed. His parents' life was changed. Every member of his family's life was changed. And the reason why I love having Seth and Kimber come and speak to you guys is for a lot of reasons, but the biggest one is that most of you guys want to be in some form of allied health program. So if you want to be a physical therapist, if you want to be an occupational therapist, if you want to be a psychologist, we always end up with a couple of psychology people in here. If you want to be a coach, if you want to work in strength and conditioning, if you want to be an athletic trainer, anything that you want to be with in the field of kines, at some point in your life, you are going to be around someone and have to work with someone with a traumatic brain injury. And I can tell you the impact that you guys have on someone's life, but why would I tell you when I can let somebody who's lived it, who's still living it, tell you about it? So I'm just going to let Kimber. So this ain't their first rodeo. They've been here plenty of times. So I'm going to just let Kimber just kind of go ahead and share, and I'll let Seth share as much as he wants to, just about kind of just introduce themselves, about kind of their lives, and then really just kind of tell us, that role that those therapists and those people played in their lives.
Yes. And so first, let me always start with a disclaimer. This is Seth. He loves to show his nips off. So if one of his nips pop out of his tank, he's over here popping them already.
When we're in person, I usually have to text him and say, Seth, wear a shirt that covers your arms. But
never. This is like this is our year.
So
he's got 2 racer bags. Whatever. Anyway. Whatever. So, and good morning, Lacey. And one of my favorite people, guys, y'all have an awesome teacher because she has a lot of heart and passion about what she does. And that's what I want to talk to you about. So, this is a career choice kind of day. So is it right? So I'm going to give you some input. And of course, this is our personal experience with being around a lot of people in the medical community, especially since there was no one I knew that even had a disability at all in my family until Seth had to take spotlight. Hey, but anyway, so he's the first of the first in my family. So it was like this huge learning curve, and the people that God placed on our path throughout this journey of recovery and it's been 9 years ago. This past September 28th was 9 years ago, 2011. Is definitely the people on our journey. I think they've already. Have y'all seen that already, Lacey? That's him.
Yeah, we showed the film. Yeah, and then
you know he always got to make it about him.
Yeah.
Anyway,
My bad.
Shoot. Okay. So, y'all, if y'all see me like popping that nip right there, y'all know because he's getting out of hand just a little bit. So anyway.
Well, you know, I think it's like, and Seth's like, his shoulders keep getting broader and broader. I don't know. You're going to have to get a wild angle
I can't
camera.
even fit in the darn screen. But the cool thing is I have to stand behind him. One of his shoulders, like, it looks like a dang basketball. So it makes me look so skinny. And I didn't even have to try. So anyway, I could just stand behind his arm and I'll be looking like, 20 pounds thinner. But anyway, so as I was saying, Seth, by the way, was 15. And when he graduated, he was in college already in the nursing program at 17 and about to start, which is amazing to even think about. But he was about to start the part of the program that was the clinicals, which y'all all know. Clinicals are what you look forward to. It's feet on the ground and you're getting to actually put your hands out there and do what your passion is or what your pursuit of major is. So with Seth, excuse me, hold on. That not COVID, that's because I'm talking fast. So with Seth, the thing is, when he acquired the brain injury, and it threw us into a medical, this thing where we had to see and come across paths with all various walks and professions of the medical field. Well, with Seth, the thing is, because of a brain injury, it affects, they call it the invisible disability. Because if you meet Seth, a lot of people don't realize anything's wrong with him until they start talking to him. They might pick up he has apraxia and aphasia, but a lot of people
tell them really quick what that is.
So, and it's really early, so I'm gonna try to remember because I don't have my phone in front of me, Lacey. He has broca aphasia, which is the verbal part. There's different kinds of aphasia. They can have aphasia where it's actually limb aphasia. There's a few different kinds. Seth's is broca, which is verbal. And so he has in his mind what he wants to say, but it's literally because his language center, which was on this side, you're turning here, babe. That's the side that they did the craniotomy. They removed his skull. Y'all seen that in the video. It was on this side. This side of the body, the left side operates right side of the brain operates left side. So his language center, which is literally motherboard of all communication for you, was totally, completely wiped out. If y'all seen the brain scans, even in his videos, you would know this dude is missing like a fourth to third of his brain. And so it's a miracle. They keep saying it's mind-boggling that he's able to do anything. He's supposed to be literally perpetually for the rest of his life vegetative. So here's where I'm going with that. So follow me on that. Remember that phrase. So with Seth, the pathways were also severed. So it's like the wires from that motherboard of your computer for communication completely sheared, completely cut. And his brain, which is awesome, his brain is regrowing another language center on the opposite side, as well as the synapses and the firing off, which is causing the other pathways to grow as well. And it's just growing new pathways. It's finding a way to get those words, the file cabinet that's up there with all of those words in it. Those are trying to get out. So when he wants to say something in his mind, he knows exactly what it is. And guys, a lot of stroke victims, most of stroke patients have this issue. It's like being trapped in a glass box. Can't write, can't read. Everything is just jumbled in confusion. But as for Seth, it's like the file cabinet's up there and all the words have, the file cabinet's been tipped over and the words are laying everywhere on the floor in a heap of mess.
So sorry, Kimber, I've never asked that. So when you read, can you read very well? Like, is it still hard to put the words together when you read?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, bad.
Yeah.
Hey, this is, I don't know. Yes, good, and no, that
Yeah.
is. That man, this, of course, boom, boom, boom. Yeah. Beans. Yeah. That bad.
It makes me wonder. I've never asked you that. I can't believe I guess you've just never used that word. So I've never thought about reading. Sorry. I wonder if, sorry, students, I'm going to just ask a random question while we're trying to get her to explain stuff, but I wonder if Braille, have y'all ever thought about Braille?
No, you know, he does sign language as far as spelling, and he knows some words.
Yeah.
So there's this is the interesting thing though, Lacey, and that's remember that. I'll remember that. Lacey, you're probably watching. Remember that.
Yeah.
But for us to look into Braille, here's the interesting thing. So cool, because the brain and y'all, this is such a new thing that even when he was in the hospital, when he woke up out of the coma, and one of the doctors took us in the room across the hall right there in ICU and said, we were so thrilled. He did a thumbs up and he's woke up out of the coma, 10 days later. And we're like, yay, he's not a vegetable. He's here with us. Well, they said, no, he'll never be able to do anything for himself. 24/7 require around the clock care. He won't be able to feed himself. He won't even know he's basically in this world. He won't know who we are, who he is, nothing, no memories, nothing. And so here, but not here. The interesting thing about that is with the brain injury, that was 9 years ago. So they were telling us then, this one doctor said, what he is in 1 year is what he'll always be. He'll never progress past that 1 year mark. Whatever whatever that is, that's it. Here, there, no more. And of course, we didn't believe that. We're people of faith. And so we never said that, never spoke that. We spoke opposite. And voila. So, so the cool thing is the brain has continued. Now it's slow. Trust me, there are days that it feels like you're moving like a turtle, so slow that you don't recognize how much stride that he's made. But then he'll see people like Lacey and she'll go, oh my gosh, you're doing so much better. You're speaking so much better.
I keep thinking back to when, I started working at Tech in 2014, 2015. So we're looking at, almost 6 years ago that I got the chance to meet you guys. And I remember, and I say this every single time, I remember the first time I met Seth. I know exactly where I was. And I don't even know if I had met Kimber. I don't know if I'd met you yet. I went up and I introduced myself to Seth, and I knew I had been told, you need to go meet this guy, but I had no idea from a communication standpoint what was going to, what was the conversation going to be like. And I think I went up to you and I just introduced myself and I said hello. And there was very little communication. I remember asking Seth how old he was. And at the time, he wasn't able to even tell me straight. You were 21 at the time. I remember that because he said, it took you a long time to get the word two out. And then it took you a long time to get the word one out. And thinking back to that wasn't very long after you'd even had the accident. And I remember at the point, I remember feeling really guilty because I felt like I was making you struggle. But here's the thing too, guys, from a therapy standpoint, and this is where we will talk about XFIZ in a couple of weeks. I have a couple of y'all that are in my 256 class, and we talk about training and we talk about all those concepts and those principles of training. As a therapist, you have to challenge your patients.
Yes.
And they're going to tell you more about those challenges. And I remember feeling guilty, but then at the same standpoint, it's like, Seth needed that challenge.
Yes.
He needed that simple thing of someone saying how old you are, because that was building his brain. Your brain acts just like a muscle. And it,
Yes.
you know, if you don't work it, you're going to lose it. And through the years, I mean, especially this year, I haven't gotten to see them since March. And which is just, I mean, other than in this format. And every single time I see Seth and I hear him talk, it's more and it's more and it's more and it's more. And for the doctors to say no more, I see it, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't get to see him on a daily basis. I probably see y'all every couple of months or so now. Before I see y'all more than that, but I see it. And so I see the brain getting stronger. I see Seth being, and the fact that, okay, think about a child. If you see a child and you only see him every couple of months, they're not really going to remember you, but Seth knows who I am. He has that memory. He knows.
His memory is better than mine, which we joke around about. It's pretty crazy, but
which is so interesting to me. Just because and I'm gonna dive into the conversation. I kind of told him about how last quarter, when everyone else logged off and my one student stayed on after, and we had some pretty heavy stuff. The day that you guys came and spoke last quarter, we had just had some pretty heavy stuff happening in our program, and we'll talk about that later. But the best part of the conversation to me was after everybody had left, which that's usually the way it is. After the interview is like the best part. So I want to talk about those today. Okay, but Kimber, just kind of go back to the way you guys were in the hospital room when Seth was, in the hospital and with the therapist and the nurses and everybody. What was it like for you guys?
Well, and I want to say this before I forget, where I was going with what I was just talking about, Lacey, is the brain continues to fire off and grow pathways. So Seth knows what he wants to say, but from here to here, there's a disconnect. So if you're patient with people with apraxia or aphasia, or even traumatic brain injury that has some kind of a cognitive delay or even processing, if you'll just repeat yourself or some talk slow or whatever, it helps them because they want to be engaged. See, the more he's engaged, the more his brain wires grow, those pathways and connections. So, and that goes for you too, by the way, students, whatever you learned today, it's actually causing your brain to grow some kind of new neuro pathway, because you're learning something new and your brain is being challenged. So, okay. That was a side.
Here's and then I'm going to say this on guys. Okay, so okay, I want you to just to kind of so we can build some empathy and some understanding, because again, one day you might have Seth, or you might have a Seth in your life, and you're going to have to have that understanding. Imagine right now, we finish this conversation and you leave here and something traumatic happens to you. And you recover to the point where you're able to live a functioning life, but those words are in your head. They're there. Like right now, you want to say something, but you can't get it out of your mouth.
Yes.
That simple communication. Autism is one of those neurological disorders that it's the exact same thing. And I've heard so many stories. I read a book last quarter about a guy who had they called it glass box syndrome. And he was literally could not say the words. And he would sit there in a room and listen to his family members talk about how he was ruining their lives. And he could hear all of this, but he couldn't say anything. He couldn't communicate. And they didn't know. They just thought he was a complete.
They didn't know he's in there. They thought
And so, have that understanding, have that patience. Because a lot of times with Seth, when we have conversation, he's trying to get the words out. What do you do whenever you can't get the words out? What do you do? And you want to say something.
God, yeah.
No, what do you do? I mean, you've done it with me before.
Get your words out.
I don't understand that language. But he pulls his phone out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
He
had
has a
multiple times.
montage of ways. Like he'll even do some type of a charade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is, which I'm going to tell you this is cool, Lacey, because we hadn't got a chance to talk and all your students.
Yeah.
We started October the 17th. We started so it's been like two and a half months, something like that. We started a TikTok channel just to put awareness out for brain injury. Seth has got some of his videos of him ordering food, people. Ordering food. How boring is that? Over 1 million views, and he's got over 100,000 followers.
That's exactly the kind of platform that you want, huh, Seth?
Yeah. And you have to go watch his stuff. It's we get a chance to talk about aphasia and brain injury and apraxia, and even what we're doing today about talking about practical things like, as much as career choice or just pushing through different things, because it doesn't matter whether you have a disability or you just are having like issues at home. And you have to learn to push through things. You will find even in a career, there will be days that you literally feel like checking out, pulling the blanket over your head and feeling like there's literally nothing at all that you want to deal with that day, because of the stresses of life or pressure or whatever. Because no matter what job field you choose to go into, unless you're literally working from your bathroom and you have no human contact at all with any other person ever, then, that's different. But in the real world, and this is even how we deal with Seth's recovery, I've had people say, how dare you? You're holding a camera, filming him ordering food, struggling. And I'm like, dude, this is what we've done from day one. Is to challenge the brain, put him in real life circumstances. I can't always be the person there to interpret or be the crutch. So there will be people you will come across that they don't have their advocate there. They don't have the mom or their caregiver to explain what their disability and deficits and struggles are. But the thing that helped me more than anything is the people that crossed our path, Lacey, that had, like you, there was a different level of, they wasn't just clocking in, clocking out and get their paycheck for whatever their degree was, whether it's occupational therapy, speech therapy, or an assistant at that, or a receptionist at one of those types of business. That has been very frustrating to have people that literally, they don't care. You're just another another human being in their cattle call of life, where you're in the line and they're just, like the DMV trying to check you in, get you out of their face. And they don't care. The people that have made the difference, because look, and I say this often about people with disability, they get up, just the fact that they got up that morning and put their feet on the floor and said, okay, I'm going to go do this today. And I'm going to, go to the grocery store or go to school or log on, whatever they do. When you have a disability, it becomes a greater challenge than things that you take for granted. Like, for example, getting up, going to get in your vehicle and drive to school or go brush your teeth. There's some people that they have that aphasia thing where you have to initiate it, or the apraxia where they can't quite remember what to do or whatever, and you have to initiate it. But my point is, when you choose a career, if you're going in it because you pulled up something on the internet and you did this connection of, hey, this is my fit, this is what I want to do because I'm gonna make 6 figures. Well, when you get that degree, if your heart is not in that occupation and it's not your passion, which is your call and your purpose, and you're not really making a difference, before long, you'll get jaded. And so it's very important that people like Lacey are letting you see the real world on the other side of people you'll be dealing with therapies, with coaching, with disability, with medical issues, even as a nurse. some of the most amazing people that have crossed our path are people that didn't have the big giant degrees. It was the people. Now, let me say, there were a lot of those that have the big giant degrees that have been amazing. But the nurses that we've come in contact with, when we were in the hospital those 5 months, I'd have the doctor come in and say, you know, another bad report of whatever was going on that day. There would be one step forward and 10, 20 steps backwards of a setback. And I would be totally devastated, because people in our situation, whether you're in the hospital, whether you're a caretaker of your child or your spouse or your loved one, your mother, your father, at home, it is so draining, because as a caretaker, a caregiver, not a caretaker, but a caregiver, as a caregiver, you're literally almost like an IV plugged up to them, and they unintentionally, but it's just the way it is factually, they drain from you energy, they drain from you focus. People that are caregivers have my utmost respect, because they give themselves away. Whatever field you're going into, if it's a medical field, or even if it's like what Lacey does, you're a caregiver on some level. And so you got to make sure that what you're pouring your life's blood and energy out for is something that you really feel that it's a calling. Because if you don't, you'll quickly get burned out, which you can get burned out anyway if it is a calling, right, Lacey?
Oh yeah.
But
that's why it's
gotta be
important to
calling.
take care of yourself.
Yes.
You know, take
yes.
those breaks, have those mental times. We'll talk about that when the alumni come and speak to you guys. They're gonna talk. One of my students that's gonna come talk to you guys, she has really great advice on that when you're in those school years, and even when you get into those working years, on, you know, planning your time and thinking about how you do it to prevent that, you know, that overload for yourself.
Yeah, it was.
Yes, it happens to the best and the strongest of people.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever career choice, and I know a lot of y'all are at a crossroads. Some of you've already made up your mind. But while you stand at the crossroads, I would just encourage you to talk to other people. And I'm so glad Lacey does this, because she actually gives you that opportunity to interview people and say, after you got the degree, how long was it before you could get a job? And really, what is your for real salary, not what was in that paper, you know?
Yeah.
But the main thing is, whatever you do, give hope. The nurses would come in after a doctor would give us the reports that were so terrible and horrible and hopeless. And they would come in and they would say, I know what he said, but let me tell you what I've seen. Now, at this point, when you're in the kind of circumstance we were in, we knew what the medical science journals said. We knew what the doctors were taught and what they said. But there's a point where hope has to step in, or I don't care what the journal even says. Without hope, in believing that you will somehow, some way get better, it tends to wind up draining your vision away for your future. If you have no vision for your future, even you guys that are listening, if you have no vision for your future, you don't see a future. And so, you know, you feel like you can't live through the smallest struggle. Seth, we have focused constantly, and this is something I'd like to share with you, because it's something that you will need to know how to do, is we talk constantly about goals. There's, even if it's a mini goal or a micro goal to get to the macro goal, the big goal, there has to be something in front of you, because as human beings, we're always aspiring. And to know, we've had the opportunity to go back and talk to the nurses, go back and talk to the doctors later that had an impact on us, and look at them and say, Seth is doing so much better now. Look, you made a difference. There will be people that you don't know that you made the difference in their life or in that day, that maybe they won't have the opportunity to come back and stand in front of you and say, you didn't know what I was going through that day, and you said this one thing. All you said was, I know, but look, keep believing. I've seen other people, and share Seth's story even, you know, this dude died, and he died twice at the scene, and he was paralyzed and had a brain injury and was told that he'd be perpetually vegetative. But And that's exactly why I started the Team Seth Foundation, Lacey's, because I knew there were people out there, they didn't need another diagnosis and prognosis. They needed hope. Yeah. And as long as you can give that, no matter what field you're in, there's people that cross your path, even in the checkout line at Walmart, even the person checking you out, that will, you don't know what they're going through. Yeah. And the weight that they carry to just function because their life behind the scenes is falling apart, or they may be contemplating suicide. And your one word, just being sensitive enough to say, I know it looks bad, I know it feels bad, but it will get better. It will get better.
Yeah. Well, so I have two things to kind of go on that. So when she says something like that, again, like she said, it doesn't matter whether it's, again, the person at the grocery store, the person that you're standing behind the library, the person that's even sitting in the car next to you at a red light. Guys, you don't know. So y'all know from when I talked about beginning of the quarter, and then we talked about motor learning this week, and I showed y'all the video of my little boy. So Ollie was born 12 years ago on Tuesday. He was born at 27 weeks and some change. So you can kind of do the math. Typically a baby should be born at 40 full weeks, and he came 27 weeks early. And we spent 68 days. 68 days is a drop in the bucket compared to what Seth and Kimber went through. But for a mother who never thought that her child was going to be born that early. I mean, we went to bed. I went to bed about 1:00 that night, fully ready to go back to work the next day. We had been on Christmas break, and I had been on vacation for 2 weeks. Like, I had swim lessons scheduled the next day that I was supposed to be teaching. I had even gone and got my toes done because I had to be in a swimsuit that day. Like, was ready to go to work. And at 3:00 that morning, I woke up and my life changed completely. To this day, my life is still different. Even though my child is a completely normal functioning 12-year-old, my life has changed utterly. I am put into a category of people that I never had even thought about. Never, just like Kimber, I had the possibility of being the mother of a NICU baby had never once crossed my mind when I was pregnant. And we spent those 68 days there, and we had, just like she said, roller coaster after roller coaster. It was like, do you know when you're going up the hill on that roller coaster, it starts to go and you feel that, like, that tick, 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 as it's pulling you up to the top of that roller coaster. And you're anticipating that, that fun downhill where it's like, hey, it's the fun part. That tick, you'll tick, tick, tick one day, and then it'll slide back. Yep. And that slide back, you don't know how far that slide back's going to go.
Yes.
It's just agonizing. And all you want someone to do is give you that little tiny nugget, that little bitty nugget. And most doctors, not all of them, because we had some doctors that were just amazing. But most, and they were all amazing, because I mean, I can tell you that the things that they can do from a medical standpoint are amazing.
Absolutely.
But just like Kimber said, those nurses, those therapists, those respiratory therapists, all of those people came in, and we had the most amazing experience. And we were in two totally different cities. It wasn't that we were both in Shreveport. We were in Austin. We had no family around us. I didn't know a single soul. I knew our dietitian. That's it. The dietetics woman her husband was on the board of directors for the facility that I worked for. So I knew her, and that's it. And she didn't even know that I'd had the baby until she came in and saw the name on the isolate. And she immediately called her husband and was like, panicking. But so anyway, in that time frame, there were people all over the country, all over the world, that were praying for us, that we had no idea that this was happening. And this is pre-Facebook, pre-Twitter, pre any of those things. This is literally like my grandma's phone tree kind of situation. And about day 60 of being in the NICU, we were in Groundhog Day. Kimber can tell you what Groundhog Day feels like. It's just like, you just get up and you go through the motions, and the world around you is going, Everything's going around you, but your life is just there. It's like, you do the same old thing every day, but it doesn't feel normal. It's not normal.
Give me that, baby.
But something broke at my work, and it was an option of paying like $500 to get this part shipped to us, or I could get in the car and drive to Tyler, Texas and pick up this part. And so I needed a day just to like chill, get in the car and just chill and not have to, I think I actually screamed and cried half the way there. Because it was like a 5-hour drive to go to Tyler to pick up this part. I get to Tyler and I've been an emotional bucket. I have to stop and get gas. And so I go into this gas station and I'm standing in the line at the gas station. The girl who's checking out and the woman in front of me, they're talking. And this is a Monday morning, by the way. So it's Monday. And the woman in line says, "Hey, did y'all hear a report on that baby in church yesterday?" She said, "I didn't get to be there." And she said, "No, I haven't heard anything." And she said, "Well, I just hope, I've been praying for them. I hope they get to go home soon." And they keep talking and I can hear them. And then she said, "He has the most precious name. I just can't get over how precious it is. And he's just so cute." And we had started a website at this point. And so they said, "I just love, our church gave us the website. We've been going and looking at their videos. They're so cute. His name is just so sweet. I just love the name Ollie." And here I am. I'm in Tyler, Texas. I was living in Austin. Okay. 5 hours away.
Wow.
And I just said, wait a minute. There cannot be another baby in Texas with the name Ollie in the NICU right now. Which, I mean, that's all things happen.
Yeah.
I said, "Where is this baby y'all are talking about?" And they said, "Oh, he's in the NICU in Austin. It's a really precious story. You should hear this." They were talking about my kid.
Is that amazing? And that was your hug or kiss from heaven.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
And so everybody else can be used that way. Like your people, if they understand the importance, students, please understand the importance of just a simple word of encouragement or hope. You are that person's prayer answered for that entire day or week or month or year by saying one thing that's just hopeful.
Yeah.
Right, Lacey?
Yeah. And so, and what's amazing is, at a Chevron station on the outside of Tyler, Texas.
Wow.
These two women, they have no idea what they did to my life. They have no idea. And they stood there and they prayed with me and we talked and I shared more of my story with them. They left energized and ready to go on a Monday. I left, and when I got back in that car and drove back to Texas, drove me back to Austin, knowing what I'm going to. Yeah. Because when I get back to work, I have to do my work, and then I get to go to the NICU and see my baby. It was a different perspective. I had a very different drive home.
Yes.
And it was something that I desperately needed. And we've all had those interactions where someone has done that for us. But what if we did that for someone else? What if we were that light? And there's been multiple times we have meetings for Special Olympics or whatever, and I go into it and I'm like, but then I get there and I see Seth and I see Kimber and we talk about Elisa. Elisa is like, I've heard us say that. Elisa is logged in here. She's like, I don't even text Kimber anymore. I just text Elisa. Like, but just seeing their faces and talking to them makes life better for me. Because you have these people that you go through the trenches with, and it when you have those similarities, it makes such a difference in your life. And and that's the biggest reason why I love them coming to talk, is because they're positive, and they have every reason to not be positive. We talk about these people and how they're put into your lives, and every single day we hear these stories about how someone was put there. It's not happen chance. It's there. There is a direct reason. And the second thing I was going to say, this the last time that they came and spoke to my class, the night before, literally the night before, one of our former students who was engaged to be married to one of our students, also former students. At the time, he was still with us. He was hit by a car on his bicycle. Exact same situation as Seth. And within the end of that day, he succumbed to his injuries. He passed away. But and immediately when I found out that this had happened on that Thursday, there were a few people I texted, but then I texted Kimber and I said, please reach out to her because she needs us. She needs us. But here's the piece where we talked about those people that are in your lives. She got to the hospital and within 5 minutes of her being at the hospital in Shreveport, they're in the same hospital that Seth was airlifted to. Two of the nurses, not just one of them, but two of the nurses that were working on his case had either early in their marriage or a fiance or someone they had been dating for a really long time die due to traumatic brain injury.
Oh, wow.
And so here is a girl who is fixing to go through, she had her whole life planned out. They
were like a week from getting married.
Yeah, they were a week from getting married.
Yeah.
She had just on that Monday got her life, had passed her boards to be a physical therapist. He in the summer had finished his PhD and was teaching, and they were fixing to get married and they were going to have life.
Yeah, beautiful life. Yeah.
Beautiful life and gone. But, God put two people who had been through the same things that she was about to go through in her life within 5 minutes.
Wow. Amazing. And nothing's by chance. Even like right now, the statistics of even brain injury are so high that it's like 1 in 4 in your lifetime, 1 in 4 of you guys. So just think about that. You could look, skip around the person. If y'all were sitting in class, you could look and literally count 4 people in front of you and you would go, that person's fixing to have someone they love or know closely have a brain injury. And you could also say the same thing about your own family. You can go down the road. There's different kinds of brain injury, like a stroke, aneurysm, concussion from just sports or whatever. There's a lot of different kinds and variants of intensity or levels of brain injury. Seth actually ranked as low as you can go on the Ranchos Amigos scale. What I would like to say to y'all, and I hope you hear me today on this especially, is whatever path you've chosen, whatever you choose to do in life, do it with your heart, do it with passion, and don't just feel like you're the hamster on the wheel that just spins round and round. Know that your path is crossing paths. I have a little prayer I pray every day where I always say, God, I know that whoever you put on my path today, help me be not distracted by my own cares of life, that I don't recognize and realize that I am their sign, that their life is going to get better, or that you see them or you hear them and it's going to be okay. And so even those of you who are looking at Seth and hearing us today talk about
very intimidating right now, by the way.
It's
very intimidating. Well, not now, but
yes. Please go watch his TikTok, y'all. The one of him doing the Titanic will make you. Yeah. There's a lot of them funny, but Lacey, he is goofball. He's so crazy. No, don't you dare show him. Let him go see it. God, don't.
So I'm gonna kind of go in a kind of not really different direction, but so most of you can see that Seth has lots of tattoos. He has his whole story tattooed on his arm, and it's really cool. So usually in an in-person setting, if you wanted to stay after, he would explain them all to you and show them all to you. But at the very beginning of the class, he had that big Band-Aid on his head. And I said, oh, the Grim Reaper's head. So he did not actually have the Grim Reaper tattooed on his head.
No.
So talking about things that happen for a reason.
See, he's trying to show his nipple.
Yeah,
I warned y'all. I warned you. That's all I can say.
So why does Seth have the Grim Reaper tattooed on his head, Kimber?
So, with Seth, everything's complicated and over the top dramatic. So for Seth, he had, show him your arm, this arm, babe.
Now go back to the very beginning of when it happened.
Well,
I love this story.
You're gonna spoil it. Stop it. I'm the producer. You're just supposed to sit there. Okay.
You can.
So, a year and a half ago, well, almost 2 years. Crazy.
Yeah.
March 1st is Seth's birthday. He'll be 27. And March 1st, a year ago, or gosh, now it will be 2 years in March.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes,
wow.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's right. Jeez, yeah. So March 1st, on his birthday, he was insistent. Y'all, he did look like this. He looked like, I don't know if you can see it. He looked like
he had a head full of hair, like in the video.
Curly,
head full of hair.
Beautiful wavy hair, luscious locks. And and so he was like insistent that he was fixing to shave his head. Now understand, at that time he had started training for the Paralympics. He had just competed that same year at the USA Games for Special Olympics and represented the state of Louisiana in powerlifting. And so now we were on to the next goal, which was the Paralympics, shot put and discus. He was about to get, 3 things were correlating and happening that like literally within 4 weeks. He was going to qualify. He'd already qualified regionally for Paralympics. His numbers were they have an A, B, and C level. He was at the C level already and would have been on the USA team and had just started training like just a few months before that. So he was doing really awesome. He was about to qualify for international and nationals, literally like 2 months apart. And in 2 weeks from that date, he was going to, because his numbers had already reached that, he was going to break the record for Special Olympics for the state of Louisiana. So this was all like records about to be broken. He about to go to Paralympics. It sounds like great goals, don't it? Great, awesome things happening. And then breaks on again, and he shaved his head, and I would not help him because I was like, you don't need to shave your head. I was, aggravated that he was even insisting, but it was a God thing because he shaved his head and there was a wound there, and that wound was actually leaking brain fluid. We wouldn't have known.
At the time, we had a meeting and we were talking about don't shave your head, do shave your head.
We took a poll, didn't we?
Yes, he asked me if he should shave his head, and I said, "Dude, you're scary enough already. What are you gonna do?"
Right.
And then they made the comment. I don't know if it was Elisa or somebody said, "But he's always so sweaty. He sweats."
Yeah.
And just this thought was, it was just sweat. But what was the fluid?
The fluid was brain fluid, and the pressure of him lifting such huge amount of weights, because they did this surgery over here. So the skin in this area was like not, I'll say it this way, not as healthy as the skin on like the other part where they didn't cut through and all that stuff. So, so when he shaved, we immediately the next day, had an appointment, went to the neurologist. We went to, that's what it looked like. I don't know if I don't think
it's kind of bright. You can't really see it.
They can see it. But so the next day we took him to, the whole week, neurologist, neurosurgeon, just trying to find out, oh my gosh, what are we going to have to do? They could not get it to close. They had to immediately go ahead and they said, stop everything. You can't lift weights. You can't go running. You can't do anything. Stop it. And so literally every goal, everything that was going on, just kind of like almost at the beginning, what happened before, when he first had his accident, everything was put on hold, stopped. And they did a skin graft. They had to do a deep tissue skin graft. They chose his right arm and they said, this is the most viable part. And it just so happened, if you see his tattoos, and they're on his website, guys, teamsethfoundation.org. There's a link to his YouTube videos. It says Tattoo Story. It's also on his TikTok channel. Team Seth Foundation is also the name of his TikTok channel. We go live, like, those are only 1 minute. long. So it's really good close-ups in individual story on the whole tattoo. But they took the Grim Reaper's face. Okay, I'm gonna move my camera so you can see. Let me show your arm. Can you see it, Lacey?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. Yeah.
There, you see it? Okay, so this crater, turn it sideways so they can see how deep it is, Seth. Can y'all see? It's a chunk out of his arm. And then that line that goes from here to here is actually where they took his main artery. So you know how you go to the doctor and they put their fingers there and they check your pulse, and some of you in medical, biology especially, y'all know they check the pulse that way. Well, they can't check Seth that way. They can't even take his blood pressure on that arm. There's not really an active pulse there. They took the skin graft of the deep tissue, which was Grim Reaper's head. That part of the tattoo is actually Christ standing on the back of Grim Reaper with Seth's tombstone, and the date of the accident is on that tombstone. And Grim Reaper is holding Seth's ankle, because Seth did die twice at the scene. So the Grim Reaper's head is not there anymore. He's literally coming out of Seth's grave. Well, it gone, and now Grim Reaper is up here. There he is.
So Grim Reaper got decapitated and put on his head.
Yes, and so Seth does Snapchats with that Grim Reaper with the Snapchat filters, and so there's some of those even on his TikTok channel that we showed. But it's crazy. But yeah, that's another part of Seth's crazy story.
Yeah, well, and this is one of the things that's fascinating from a medical standpoint to me. So, and I think it's actually kind of changed that, so we just had Christmas, and most everybody watches Christmas Vacation, and you hear Cousin Eddie say, well, on this side, it's like just government plastic. And we don't really, and it's like my favorite Christmas movie. And that's one of my favorite scenes when he talks about that. Seth does not have government plastic just on his head. Seth actually has his real skull. Okay. So if you looked in the videos, you saw the picture, the image of the crater, the big missing piece where that portion of his brain is gone. So when he was admitted to the hospital, instead of just throwing that away, they saved that. So his skull was actually taken and cryogenically frozen.
Yes.
Still said time that he needed that piece of his skull back.
Which was several months later. Mm-hmm. Lacey, that was several months later.
Yeah.
So it was actually 3 months later.
Yeah. And it's just
crazy.
Yeah. And it's just fascinating to me that so there's no, there's everything that was there before is, other than the piece of the brain, is back there. Yes. And that's one of the things that's so cool about just traumatic brain injuries in general, or any brain injury in general. But the fact that Seth doesn't have that part of his brain, but the portion that he does have is rewiring, refiguring things out, and everything that we think we know, we thought we knew about the brain, he's proving it wrong. He's
very true.
His brain is doing all kinds of amazing things.
No.
Oh, is he getting his dog?
He's getting Lola. She's needing to go out. You want to show him Lola? Y'all, this is his therapy dog. She's got a bad hairdo going on because she's part Aussie Doodle. So this is Lola Rose. This is Lola Rose. Here, she'll hypnotize you with her eyes real quick. She's got icy blue eyes. She looks high all the time, and then like Alice Cooper mascara running down her face or something.
So Kimber, I want to give the students an opportunity. I know there's some of you who have questions. So does anyone? Well, Seth has left, but
he's
Kimber,
right here.
Do any of y'all have a question that you might want to ask Seth and Kimber? I mean, we've talked about a lot of stuff, but does anyone have any questions for them? I hope you do. So you can even just type it in the chat and I can ask.
Don't be shy, people. Y'all are gonna wish to God y'all would have asked us whatever's in your brain that you want to know about. I will throw this out there, Lacey. I'm gonna tell you this because I don't know if you know. on Christmas vacation,
yeah.
Seth has actually decided he wants to go back to training for the Ironman. Which he was training for when he got hit. So that's awesome because he hasn't trained in literally, even weightlifting or anything for over a year and a half. And now it's just, I'm excited for him. I'm so excited.
Run a marathon?
Yeah.
I wouldn't run a marathon.
I know. I'm training for the 5K. That's probably as far as I can go. But anyway, so I hope your people ask. Oh, somebody said, what was your favorite lift? When you were lifting weight, what was your favorite power lifting? Was it the bench,
no, all. Yeah.
Which one's your favorite though?
Easy, dead lift. Yeah.
I thought you said it was bench.
No.
Well, last week he lied because last week he said it was bench, but because he can't quite say bench right, he kept saying the B word, and so I'm glad he changed it to deadlift because y'all's little ears would be burning and bleeding right now. Because he would say that's his favorite lift.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the hardest part of? I'm not able to read the full comment.
Here, hang on. I can
What's
get it.
up?
What is the hardest part of your recovery?
Oh,
that's a hard question.
That's.
I think your recovery is still happening. So what's one of the hardest things for you? Someone has asked a variation of this question before, but what's something that's frustrating?
What do you think was the hardest? Like, what do you think was the hardest part of your recovery from even the hospital?
All day.
Was it walking? Was it speech?
This. Oh my God.
The headache?
Yeah. All day.
What is the hardest thing you had to learn? What's the hardest thing you had to relearn?
All. Yeah. And two. Yeah. Walk. Yeah. Gym.
Yeah. Well, and and this is the thing that's because we've got quite a few that want to be occupational therapists in here. And Kimber, did y'all ever meet Tommy Grafton, who worked in our department? Dr. Grafton. He was a little short guy that had had the stroke. He has black hair. He's from Farmville.
I don't think so.
So Dr. Grafton was he was a professor when I was at Tech, and he retired a couple of years after, probably about 10 years after I had graduated. He retired, and literally within a year of him retiring, he had a pretty massive stroke, and and lost pretty much everything on the right side of his body. And he came back for quite some time and would talk in Miss Boyd's class, and would talk about just the simple fact of like what Seth said, everything about having to relearn to brush your teeth. Do you remember having to learn to brush your teeth again?
Savvy.
He can't sit still for 2 seconds.
He said, she said, do you remember having to learn to brush your teeth again?
Yes.
You can see it.
Hey,
it's okay. It's okay. Lola can come in. You had to go let Lola out.
Yeah.
She's ringing her bell, so we had to let her out.
So even just the simplest thing. So brushing your teeth. Do you remember the therapist doing that with you?
Yeah, but home, left, okay, gossip, right, numb.
So he was paralyzed still and numb on the right side, Lacey. And so when he came home, we still had to brush his teeth. We still had to shower him and all of that. He couldn't tell he had food stuck in his mouth. It was disgusting. He'd be chewing. We'd look over there, and like a couple hours later, he'd start chewing. We're like, "What the heck is in your mouth? What's in your mouth? You're gonna choke!" And it would be like from breakfast.
Yeah. This is a big question. So baking it out, do you really ever have to deal with people, when it comes to with your communication, people speaking in a derogatory manner, or how do you, or even just, I think people being afraid to even just talk to you. I think we've talked about this before. I mean, you're not afraid of anybody. You're going to walk up to anybody and talk to them. That's the beautiful.
No.
Yeah. But I know it gets frustrating. Yeah.
And so do you get nervous when somebody comes up and All right, what are you asking, Lacey? If it's hard for him to communicate or is he offended or uncomfortable if somebody just approaches him?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
You don't care.
No.
Well, and I think that is, and there are a lot of people, I think even before, because for me, I've never met you pre-TBI. And so for a lot of people, like when I see the images and the videos of you preaching and talking and doing the things that you did
like, who is that?
Yeah, I know. And so, I don't know Seth in that way. And any other person, this is again the beautiful thing, any other person that would have had this, this injury, they probably wouldn't be the way that Seth is. But I think your personality now was your personality then.
It was.
Nothing has other than communication and the medical issues.
Yeah.
Nothing about you has really changed other than the size. You're definitely got some extra pounds.
He's like he could have picked up the old Seth and literally with one finger threw him across the room. So he's he only weighed like 170 pounds or something.
Yeah.
And now he weighs 345.
Yeah.
So see, that's like
you're gonna run a marathon.
Yeah, right.
How are we gonna? Yeah. So well, and this is, I kind of made that comment. Like, I don't know Seth pre TBI. So last quarter, I had have you met Donna Sasser before?
Yes.
Kimber.
Yes.
They live in Shedrick. They have a daughter. Her name is Anna. She has Down syndrome, and Anna has you would love her, which you paint too, but Anna has a little painting business on the side, and it's called Downright Designs, and she paints crosses and various things. When someone asked a similar question to Anna, and Anna didn't understand the question, because to Anna, she's never lived without Down syndrome.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And so for her,
interesting.
And I had never thought of it from that standpoint, but Anna said, I don't know how to answer that question because she doesn't know life. And I know I've asked Seth before about pre-TBI, and I'm going to ask it again because I know the answer, but they don't know the answer. Do you remember life pre-TBI?
Yeah. Low, super low.
So like a little bit.
Yeah, pass. Yeah.
One of the things about brain injury that I'll throw out there, Lacey, that most people don't know, a lot of people try to cram them back into the body or the person they were. Yeah. Your body, your brain is different after a brain injury, after a stroke or whatever. So your personality, a lot of people's personalities are different. That's why soldiers coming back, they come back and these people are like, oh my gosh, my human was abducted. This is a person walking around in the body of my husband or my brother or whatever, best friend, but they're no longer like that person. But brain injury does that. It alters, because it alters. Seth I call him Seth 2.0. I think he's way more awesome than he was before the accident, but he's not the same. And the thing that they get frustrated with is people trying to like bring up so much of the past where they're trying to force him to become that person that they were comfortable with instead of accepting them as the new human being they are now, because they're different. Even his things he likes to eat, things he likes to do, a lot of that's different. His personality is very much intact.
Yeah.
But what is this? What drives? I can't read all of it. What did it say?
What drives your positivity every day? Did you ever find it difficult to stay encouraged when you were injured?
Yeah.
So what keeps you positive? What keeps you
my
uplifted?
God. God. Me, God.
So, okay. So this is where I'm going to add, because I'm telling you that little bit of conversation that we had after last time was just like life altering for me. Okay. So in the conversation that we had after, we were talking about, at this point I think we were in the conversation when I got the text message that they thought that he had passed. And Seth you have your death story. Okay. So what happened? What happened? What did you see? Kimber, you might be directing him when you died.
Yeah, because he's
How
like,
do you see
whoa.
Yeah. So, but how do you see death? It was interesting in that conversation because my response to the text message and Kimber's response to it, but then Seth's response to it was very different.
Yeah.
So,
so tell them, like, because since you died twice, what is your view of death?
Yeah. Fine. Real death, pass, real awesome. Hell, shape up money, brother.
There's it a practice.
Yeah. Fun. Yeah. Real.
So,
man.
So here's the thing. So Seth, since he died twice, and y'all can go watch some of that story, even on TikTok, there's pieces of that about, after he died, he walked to Christ, told him he had a great purpose. He had to come back. Seth has never been able to grieve like me and you, Lacey. Like, we would grieve and go, oh my gosh, that's tragic. This person died. And Seth's always like, no, why are y'all sad? Where this person went is amazing. And there's no words to describe how happy these people are that he didn't want to come back. Now, here's the thing that I want to differentiate here. That does not mean that checking out of life here, because it's going to be so much better there, is cool. So can I just address suicide real quick here? Suicide, a lot of people think to avoid that pain, you want to just kind of check out, right? Because you don't want to deal with it. But the truth is, you will get through whatever it is you're dealing with that you think you can't live through it. You will live through it. You just have to get through today. And then you have to get through tomorrow. But you can do it. And what waits on the other side of that is that somebody, a lot of somebodies need you. Just like Seth, there's something we don't ever talk about. Seth had, thoughts of suicide. Do y'all think this life is easy because he's smiling and always uplifting? No, he has real struggles. And so there's times in this process over the 9 years that he has struggled with suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what kept him here is that one word. What is it?
God.
Purpose too.
Yeah. Purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hey, Dad, I cut this good in, but devil won. So
yeah. Because somebody needs you here. And that's the thing. That's the thing that's so awesome about Seth, I feel like, and even our relationship. Seth's very transparent. And so when he struggles with something, he's an awesome communicator and he talks about it. But he kept saying that even when he would be struggling, that God would tell him, no, there's a purpose. You're here for a reason. And it may be hard right now and it may be difficult right now, but Seth's mantra is quitting lasts forever. Pain lasts for a moment. So push through it. So even some of you guys and gals that are watching right now, maybe you're going through something that's so terrible and awful, that a breakup of a boyfriend, or you just found out something terrible and awful, or you can't deal with things at home family wise, and you've been having thoughts of suicide and you just feel like just checking out of the world because you're in so much pain. Pain and pressure is what makes you stronger. If this life was only mountaintops without any valleys, it wouldn't really be a mountain now, would it? You have to have the valleys in between the mountains to appreciate the mountaintop. And the cool thing is, you didn't think you were going to survive the last valley you were in, but you made it to the top of that mountain. So that's why I say, just keep going and you'll live through it. That's what I want to tell you, because Seth, somebody needs you. you may not think that. You may feel like you're insignificant, unimportant, and that the world would be better off and people around you would be better off without you. But it's not true. Somebody needs you desperately. And you may be the next person to have the come up with the cure for COVID or whatever the next pandemic is. It may be you. So if you have those thoughts of checking out, well, you got to think it's not God telling you, hey, check out, go ahead, come up here. No, you're here on this earth for a reason, for such a time as this. There's something you have to do. Maybe a lot of some things.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Bye-bye.
Well, and somebody asked the question, so that kind of leads into how far reaching is the Team Seth Foundation? So where, like, is it just local or like?
Yeah. No, we have Skyped internationally. The cool thing that we're doing, we help children with medical and therapy expenses, but Lacey, it's amazing. Like the people on Facebook, but now the larger group, which we didn't do TikTok for that reason. We really did TikTok just to bring awareness, make some little videos and let people understand awareness of brain injury, inclusion of people, not to ignore them just because it's awkward. Engage people with a disability, ask them what their story is. The thing is with TikTok, like last night we were at Lambright and he was training. So it was like 20-minute or 30-minute live video that they were doing. There's people engaging us they're putting things in the comment that are in other languages, Nova Scotia, Czechoslovakia, Australia. There's just so many people that are coming on there internationally, which is awesome. And you guys, Seth was a full-time youth pastor before his accident. Like when he got hit, he was a full-time youth pastor, as well as, the triathlete and in college to be a nurse. That was one of the things he did. And the amazing thing is we had this conversation last night and I said, son, do you realize that you literally, because we were the first interracial church in our region. Seth was raised with that mindset of, social justice, stand up for what's right, speak up, silence is compliance kind of attitude. And so now to see that with a limited vocabulary, limited communication skills, that Seth is able to encourage, inspire, reach more people now with that internationally. I said, dude, you have an international ministry right now because you're giving people hope. You're leading people to hope with limited conversation, limited communication, but you still try. You still inspire. If you meet him on the street today, this dude is always smiling. He always encouraging. And he may be having the most horrible, awful day with what he's going through personally. That's why I said it a while ago, and I'll say it again. Somebody needs you out there. Somebody is waiting on you. So don't, whatever you're going through that didn't work out, like Seth, the life that he planned, and he was doing all the right things, and the most god-awful, horrible, awful thing happened to him. But out of it, here we stand before you saying, giving you an aspect of life and of people in pain and people dealing with disability that you would not have ever even thought about. Because if you're oblivious, even if it's ignorance and it's, by proxy, because you just don't know, it still don't matter. You just don't know.
Well, and putting yourself in those situations. I mean, I know for me, working with individuals with disabilities, that's just part of life for me. I didn't want to necessarily do, but it just kept coming at me. And so, that comfort level, it comes with experience and it comes with just life, So we've just about reached the end of our time. So for those of you that I know that have another class right after this, if you've got questions for Seth, his cell phone number is on the Moodle page. So reach out to him. He loves to communicate with you guys, loves to share with you guys. On Monday, we do not have live class and you do not have a recorded session. You are going to be working with your group to find those sources for your critical thinking. This is where they have to do an assignment that they got to research something. They got to find some information and form an opinion, or maybe even change their opinion about something. So There are instructions on the critical thinking page. So make sure that you go in and you watch those instructions on what you're going to be doing for Monday. You can do it over the weekend and turn it in and have Monday morning off, or you can schedule the time to meet with your group. But check your email. I'll send y'all more instructions in just a little bit. But so do check your email today. Your reflection of today's talk is due by Sunday evening. So follow those instructions of how to type up your reflection on today, and then have that posted to Moodle on Monday. Those of you that want to stay and chit chat and talk a little bit more with Kimber and Seth, if y'all want to, y'all are more than welcome to stay on. But those of you, I know you've got class in the next few minutes. Thanks for coming. Thank you. The next guest speaker that we have is Dr. Blazo. He's going to be talking to y'all about sports and exercise psychology and our graduate program. And he also has a really fun story. I had to poke him to go into his not comfort zone to share with you guys, because he has a great story just about, being a student and not really knowing your direction, but then finding it too. So, all right. So y'all have a good weekend. I'm going to stay here. If not, I will talk to you guys later. So, yeah, we'll see how many of them drop out. Some of them are probably going to stay and kind of ask y'all questions. I was really sad that one day I think that was a different class that we had.
Hi, thank you, Carlin.
JFK.
Yeah. She actually has my class right after this, but they don't have in person today. They're doing something else. So do any of y'all have questions? Those of y'all that have kind of hung back? I'm going to be professional because usually I stop recording after this, but I want to keep recording because we stopped recording that last time. I had that recorded.
And it was such a good conversation.
Yeah. It was. And so I'm usually when I've stopped recording, that's when we just kind of were like, whatever. And so I'm going to
Thank you, Dylan.
Be a little bit better than I normally am.
I have class in a few minutes, but I did have a question, and I kind of just wanted to wait till the end because I know like religion and Christianity is not everyone's thing. But I was curious how y'all's relationship with Christ changed after the accident and through recovery and to now.
Oh, that's such a good question.
Yeah.
That's such a good question.
Yeah,
I can say for me personally, being a church girl raised in church, I thought I knew and I had a relationship I thought was a strong relationship. But when that happened, I really assumed that that things like that don't happen when you're doing the right thing. But I found out, life does happen no matter if you're Christian or you're not. I think what's gotten us through this is our faith. I absolutely will say that's top of it, because we had to believe past what was the prognosis or what the medical journal said. We had to believe past that.
Yeah.
But as far as the relationship, I'll say for me, and then if it's okay, I can explain some of what Seth, I'm going to give him a chance, and then I'll kind of fill in the blanks of that. But for me, I went to a really dark place, and my fear and my faith began to struggle like horribly. I doubted everything I ever knew about God, because I was like, if you're so awesome and so mighty and so good and big, how could this terrible, awful thing happen when literally the night before he preached that the purpose and destiny of God can't be taken, and then he got hit, and not just hit. As we progress through, then we find out he can't even speak anymore. So here's a mouthpiece for God that now has been completely silenced, right? So I went to a really dark place, and I really got angry at God. And, it's a wonder, God, he didn't zap me with a lightning bolt, because I would literally curl up in a ball and get screamed at the top of my lungs and curse. Now, this is a church girl who, you don't do that. But I started doubting. And at the same time, it was such a sweet thing because it led me to depth of relationship I never would have had I not gone to the darkest place. And that was because during that time, when I was so angry, I had gone through seasons, and I say seasons because it was several months. I mean, he was in the hospital 5 months. I never would cry around him. Nobody was allowed to come in and cry or be down or talk about the negative side of what we heard that day or whatever. We stayed positive in his face and, still continued to pray and everything. But I would go through these waves, and it was this underlying, because see, you can't fool God. And so this wave and underlying thing of that anger was like a volcano boiling up in me constantly, right? And one day I just got tired of being angry, and it was after Seth and we had come home, and I was in my bathroom floor, curled up after I crawled out of the shower, because I was literally in a fetal position in the shower, just screaming because nobody could hear me in there, screaming and angry and just, ugh. And I came out and I said, God, I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of being mad. I know you know, but I don't want to live like this. I don't want to be angry. I want to forgive you. And the irony of that is, can you imagine telling God you want to forgive him?
Yeah.
He didn't cause it. Life happens, right? And I was so angry because I wanted him just to abracadabra fix it when I didn't understand. And when you're going through the middle of a crisis, and you're in the middle of that valley I just talked about, because we literally walked through the valley of the shadow of death with Seth. Yeah. When you're walking through that and you're just trying to just trudge along and just hopefully get to the other side somehow, and you can't even see the other side of it. When you're doing that, you question a lot of things, but I wound up finding a faith inside of me that I did not have. And it came because I was being honest. And that day, instead of God thumping me in the head and saying, okay, well, you owe me an apology, it wasn't like that. I felt his loving arms around me. And he literally whispered to me, and he said, Christ, I seen Christ on the cross. And he said, Father, why have you forsaken me? And immediately it was like, I get it. It's okay to question, but you've got to still lay that down and leave it at the cross. Yeah. And that was like not an epiphany, but I'll say a spiritual awakening inside of me on a different level, because I was always the one walking in, quoting the scriptures and encouraging and praying for people. But when it came to the darkest of nights, I could not encourage myself. I could open the Bible and read a scripture, but still, because I was so angry, I couldn't let it get filtered past that anger, because I couldn't receive it, Well,
and Kimber, tell her really quick. So Grace, I don't know if I know you have class, but yeah, there's a video on the website of Seth meeting the woman who hit him.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Seth, we didn't hear from the people that hit him. She was 81 years old. We didn't hear from the family. We didn't, nothing, for not months. I'm saying years, like the whole time we were in the hospital, no phone call, no casserole, no flowers. When we came home, literally our world was turned upside down. We were having to have people bring us food, because I could not, we were 24/7 around the clock, taking care of him, changing diapers, bathing it, everything. I'm talking about a baby that was now the size of a 170-year-old guy. So it took us a lot of people taking care of him. We were so angry, and Seth, which is beautiful, Seth wanted to meet her, and we're talking 5 years, 7 months later, that God just woke me up that morning and said, today's the day I want you to reach out to her, and I want you to give her peace. And I was like, I had already forgiven her, but I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to meet anybody, Lacey, because there's still that thing that you're scared your gangster gonna come out on somebody, and you're gonna say stuff that not very becoming of a woman.
My inner gangster stays in a little bit more than it used to.
Well, I call it a thug on a lease. So I still have my thug inside of me, but she on a leash most of the time.
Mine is my grandmother. I got it genetically. Mine is like genetic. It's my grandmother and my mom. Like, it's just there. I can't
So-
deny it.
Well, I was like going, no, I don't want to do that. I forgave her, but I can't deal with that. And even to give her peace. And so quickly, I said, okay, I'm going to reach out to them on Facebook because I didn't know these people. So I found her, I think it was her daughter-in-law on Facebook, and reached out and sent a private message. And I was like, okay, God, I did my thing. Literally within 30 minutes, these people had contacted me back. And I just sent the message saying, Seth wants to meet your mom and give her closure, give her peace. And so we scheduled that day, and, I drove up, and they live, 30 minutes from us. And so as we're driving there, we're crossing the bridge where Seth was thrown and died on. And I had not crossed that bridge but once before that. I couldn't do it. I couldn't emotionally, psychologically do it because I seen him, in my mind's eye, laying against that guardrail with his skull cracked, so I couldn't do it. And I crossed that bridge, and I remember Seth telling me as we drove up in their front of their house, I started having a panic attack. I couldn't get out of the car. Seth took my hand and he said, Mom, breathe. All God. Trust God. And so he calmed me down. We go in, and ironically, now this lady is in the same situation as what Seth was. She can't do anything for herself. She's in diapers. She's in a recliner. They have to use a lift to get her up and down, out of her bed. But she's in a recliner now, and she's in the latter stages of Alzheimer's. And we were able to share with her, what happened and what came out of it, the beauty that came out of the awful. And that came because of Seth's accident. I'd never been involved in Special Olympics. I'd never advocated for people with disability. Because of that, I was thrown into a world where my voice and my passion quickly turned to help other people. And because of that, I say it this way, I was able to meet some of the most incredibly awesome, beautiful human beings that are so inspirational. If you haven't worked with Special Olympics or people with disability, it is awesome. A gift. Yeah. It's a gift. And so please take advantage of that if you ever get the opportunity. But he sits there, and at the end of this conversation, because I tell her this is the most awful thing that ever happened, but it became the most beautiful thing that happened for us. And Seth did this. Seth wanted to pray for her. So she turned to Seth, though, as we're telling the story, and she just said, I'm so, so sorry. And Seth took her hand and said, it's all right. Look at me. Oh, God, look at me, strong. And he's praying for this woman. And I asked if I could video it. The actual video is on his teamsethfoundation.org. And it's called Forgiveness. And Seth prays for this woman, leans down and kisses her on the top of the head. She passed away 2 weeks later. Seth, as we're coming back home, he shows me that it gave him closure too. And he showed me these 4 words, and you'll see those words on that screen at the end of that video that he typed in his phone. You will see those words. So, so that's part of, I guess, the process of the recovery.
Yeah. Well, and it's since that conversation that we had last time after, it's just amazing how, when Kimber does a lot of the talking for these, and Seth, I read Seth so differently now. Your facial expressions and your confidence in it all. You can totally tell by the way someone sits or by the way their face is when someone asks a question like that, Grace. Like there's just a confidence about it. There's just there's no anger, there's no frustration. and you have every right to be angry and mad and frustrated. And I'm sure there are days where you throw the peanut butter jar because it's, not doing what you want it to do. Like we all do, but it's just, I mean, it's just, if you don't find inspiration in it, and if you don't stop yourself when when the peanut butter jar doesn't do what you want it to do, if you're somebody who doesn't have those struggles, to stop and go, it's not about me. It's just not. It's just not, and yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you all so much for sharing. I really enjoyed today. I have to hop on to another Zoom
Hey.
for class, but I really enjoyed it.
Molly,
Seth said send us some money.
he always says that.
All right.
Thank you.
I don't know if there's anybody. I don't know if any of these other guys that are just hanging out. Do any of y'all that are still hanging out have questions for Seth, or are y'all just kind of hanging to see whether, anything? Again, it's always these moments when there's, when we can just talk and there's no.
Like my face is like right against his pits. I'm not impressed.
I do not envy you in any way.
hey, good.
No, not good. Not good.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
So yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Seth started painting Lacey for Christmas.
Oh.
I did the little flowers on there, but he did the rest of it.
Oh, Seth.
Yeah, he sold them. He sold them on his TikTok, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But he's got some obsessed fans. I'll just say
that. That's well,
can I just say they're cougars? Can I just say that?
Yeah.
He's had several marriage proposals. I'm like,
do not need a cougar.
Come get him. If you can feed him, you come get him, baby. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Danielle.
Thank you.
Well, I get to go be a second grade teacher in the next few minutes. We're still
all right.
Yeah, Ollie goes back to school on Monday. We might have a snow day on Monday, so maybe
I've seen that. Is that crazy? But we're doing Zoom now, so they probably don't care. They're like,
I hope that they would give them the day. I think with the internet situation, just people being so.
True.
I mean, I know from our standpoint, when weather gets bad, especially where we are now with the which most of our power lines have been completely replaced, and I mean, because we're right in the tornado, and then we didn't get any, but like our neighbors got some hurricane damage. So sad. We have I'm going to stop recording now.